If you're looking for intellectual, informed basketball takes and you want to bring in media that knows what they're talking about, look no further than
never early, never late, but we always push the pace, yeah. And we really study tape, y'all just view the highlights, man, we really watching games, yeah. You just watch from the stands, we run 3-man weeks, Paul, Trey, and Allen, yeah. Way more than a fan, we got love for the game, we don't have to pretend. Got it out the mud like you get it off the glass. I'm to run the fast breaks, throw me the outlet. Yeah, we got it out the mud like you get it off the glass. Time to run the fast breaks, throw me the outlet. We on the break, it's fast breaks. We on the break, it's fast breaks. Let's go.
Yeah, it do. My people. What say you? You're coming down. The end of season 2.
Oh, it is the end of season 2.
Coming at you. And you know what we do. That's the light.
Fastbreaks family, what did I say in that song, man? I said if you want informed intellectual basketball, you know exactly what to tap into, and that's why you're here today.
The way he's speaking.
That's crazy.
Shoulders have a mind of their own.
That's a fact. They actually do. They really do.
Good morning. Salutations.
And many blessings. Brand rising.
You already know who it is. I go by the name of Rhoda, hostess with the mostest. To my left is Coach Paul. Below him is King Dre. We are a little ensemble that goes by the moniker Fast Breaks. If someone would kindly retrieve the basketball off the backboard so we can begin our offensive possession. And then the best way to begin the offensive possession would be to throw the ball to the point guard, otherwise known as an outlet.
Hey, yo, Paul, you got new glasses, guy?
These are.
That's a new man. He got a retwist, new glasses, fresh black T-shirt, camera looking all HD.
This is not.
Yo, who's watching, Paul?
This is not.
No. Who's watching?
This is not a fine shit. This is all for fine shit. You know what it is.
Hey, wipe it up. Yo.
How's that a why? That's I'm saying what you're doing.
You called me that?
No, I'm not calling you that. I'm saying that's what you're doing it for.
Oh, I heard that completely differently. Okay,
you're crazy. You're crazy.
Let's get into it, bro. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, man.
First, let's talk.
I'm playing. I'm playing. We all heard enough about that over the last week. We heard enough about that. I've seen enough of his boxing videos.
Yeah, I honestly don't care anymore.
You personally, the world cares. LeBron cares.
No, I don't think the world cares anymore.
LeBron cares.
It's not even entertaining.
The world cares, man.
No, you care, Paul.
No,
LeBron cares.
LeBron cares. The world cares.
You know who cares more than anybody right now? Bronny James.
I think Draymond might care more than him.
That's a fact. More than Savannah, too.
Okay. Yo, this is what I'm talking about. This is why. And I know you wanted to talk about it just to get these dumbass jokes off. This is disgusting work.
Yeah. So you're saying dumbass jokes, but people are going to be...
Incorrect. None of this is getting clipped. We are a sports podcast.
See, you got
bro.
too much power.
We are not
Like
of
LeBron.
gossip. We are not a gossip podcast, bro. And that's
No,
the
it's
problem.
happening.
Sports media is turning into TMZ, and I don't like it. I want to
Blame
talk
LeBron for
X's and O's. I want to talk basketball, bro.
Blame LeBron for that.
You
You're
want to
not
talk
baiting
basketball?
me.
You
You're
want
not
to talk
baiting me.
basketball?
Not baiting me. No. I'm not here to talk about mandem on a podcast. There's too many black men who went to Best Buy to get mics to talk about mandem.
That's crazy.
And there's
Why are you
also
talking
way
about
too
another
many.
mandem?
There's also too many black men that have gotten podcast mics from Best Buy to talk about Galdem too, and I don't want to do that either.
Oh,
We're here to talk about basketball and that.
that's a
Y'all,
fact.
ready, y'all want to talk basketball, or y'all want to keep talking about next man?
So if they were in a one-on-one, like
I can go. Yeah, if y'all want to have that.
no. All right, let's start it up for real.
That's not my body, bro. I'm not here to talk about it with next man.
I don't want to hear about your body. What's wrong with you?
This man is not from New York, ladies and gentlemen. We got him.
See,
Hey, let's talk about the disrespect for NBA coaches in the NBA.
Talk about it, then, Paul.
Tell me the news.
How you fired Taylor Jenkins right before the playoffs?
How?
He's been doing.
What is going on? You know, all right. You know what this
Actually,
reminds me of?
hold on. Before you go,
Go.
I just give a little context so people know. The head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies was recently let go. I think it was a day or two ago. The team had been previously yesterday. The team had previously been in the top 4 of the West. They dropped down. I think they're number 5 right now, but that's only because of the resurgence of the Lakers. Apparently, there had been some friction, which is just a rumor for right now, so it's not confirmed, but there had been some friction between Ja Morant and Jenkins, so that might have put a little fuel to the fire.
Who said that?
I said it's a rumor. It's a rumor I saw floating around the interwebs.
Man, we don't believe the internet.
Listen. I believe some of these head coaching firings, the star players are generally involved in some way. But so that's how we have it now. That's how it's laid out. Another head coach laid off. This one is so.
He wasn't laid off. He was fired.
Right. Fired. You're right. Fired. This one is so jarring because it's only a couple weeks, literally 2.
A drawing?
What?
Jarring.
I'm sorry. Jarring.
Who's drawing? This man's got jaw on the mind.
That's crazy.
He said the firing is so jawing. Was that a bar? Was that an attempt at a bar?
No. Jawing. That's what it is. Anyway, Paul, that's just the setup. You can take it from there, whatever you want to say.
I remember
when niggas saying that's corny. That was an accident. Keep going.
Listen, look. Shaq said, I think it was last month or a little further than that the coach. Remember when I think my camera's a little too HD. Freezing up.
Nah, let it rock because they watch it.
Kind of freezing up a little bit.
Who's ever watching is clearly
Whoever
tuned
this
in.
is there.
No, they're not. But anyway.
Oh.
Anyway.
Folks, we got him.
Shaq and Charles. Remember when they had that debate about the importance of coaching in the NBA?
Yes.
And on TNT, and Charles was like, coaching is important, and Shaq was like, not really. I think the NBA has shown us that they're more so on Shaq's side than on Charles' side. And I think that's crazy.
How about this though? Is coaching good in the NBA right now? How many good coaches can we name?
What defines a good coach? That's a better comment. What defines a good coach?
Number 1, I would say command of the locker room. So by that metric, how many coaching back and forths yelling at each other have we? And the players can say, "Oh, that happens all the time." Yada 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 yada. But how many in-game coach-player contentious moments have we seen this year?
By that definition, Tom Thibodeau's grateful because last week him and Josh Hart were going at it.
OD.
So, on camera.
He's saying in the opposite. Paul, he's saying the opposite. He's saying we shouldn't be seeing that.
No. He's saying it should happen because it shows that there's control. And there's like
no, I'm saying it shows that there's a lack of respect.
Correct. So? That's what he's saying.
If a player and a coach are going back and forth, right?
Why are you bucking at your head coach?
But if he's bucking back, then to me that shows that that coach feels very comfortable.
Yeah, but I'm not saying they're weak coaches. Yeah, no, they're bucking back, but there's an issue already that a player feels so put off by what you have to say to them that they feel the need to express their point so aggressively. Like players and coaches disagreeing is one thing. That's going to happen. We all got to figure out what we're doing, and for sure. But if I'm so frustrated with you and I so vehemently disagree, if I feel like I'm being disrespected by what you say to the point where I got to raise my voice and stand up and stand over you and point at you, like that shows to me a lack of respect or a level of frustration and lack of trust. I don't believe in what you're saying. And so because I'm so passionate about the game, I'm going to let you know how much I disagree with what you just said and how bad of a take I think it was.
I'm not going to lie. I think most players that disrespect their coach or don't respect their coach would not say anything and would actually just do whatever they want on the court. I think that's a sign.
No, but here's the thing. No, but there's that. I agree with that. But what I'm saying is that to have that kind of reaction means that whatever he just said to you pissed you off.
That's
right?
human nature.
So there's there's a disconnect, right? If a coach says something that I don't want to do and I disagree with, there's two ways for me to react. If I have respect in a certain sense, I'm gonna be like, nah, like I don't think that's it, like, and try to game plan out of it. If I think it's dumb, I'm just gonna ignore it. If I think you've now disrespected me with what you said, that's where I think we get the fire reaction. Like if a coach is, because what I'm assuming is that this is coming from the coach is trying to hold a player accountable. Like they said when it happened with KD and Bud. That he was trying to get on KD about coverage on Luka, because Luka had hit like 4 threes in the first quarter.
Right.
Clearly, KD took that personally, so he either feels like the game plan is what's allowing this, or there's something happening on the court that the coach is not accounting for, and is trying to use the star player as the accountability pole for really what is a team issue, and KD wasn't going for it.
See,
that shows me lack of command of the locker room. Because if you don't respect me enough that even if you're not wrong, I can't use you. Because if you like star players, that's part of the gig, right? Like even if it's not really you messing up, me going at you and you taking that sets a tone for the team, right? Because if I can hold you accountable, even in a situation where it's not really your fault, then other players is gonna be like, all right, well, nah, if he gonna get on him, high key, that was my fault. Like I gotta get right because my star player is taking bullets for this. Right, my teammates taking bullets for this, but when a player feels like I don't feel like I'm not finna let you do that. They're not respecting what you're trying to do. They're not respecting the authority you're trying to hold over the team.
I don't think there's a single player that would take that in the NBA today.
I don't think that's true because we still haven't gone to name the good coaches where that's happened and it hasn't been. Are
today's players coachable? In using your definition of a coach, because I don't think
if they have a coach who's a good coach who they respect.
I disagree.
Well, can we toss out some names?
Mike Malone.
Sure.
Mike Malone rips his team apart all the time, and they just respond. JJ Redick, he be on Austin Reeves' ass.
No, we're not talking about Austin Reeves. He's not the star.
He be on LeBron.
You know who he has to go at.
He be on LeBron and Luka too.
Be on.
I don't know if he's ever been. I don't know if he's ever been on Luka.
Like that. Nah,
it's been a couple weeks. I haven't seen that.
No. You don't watch Laker games.
I don't even think they got tested.
No, I've watched Laker names. I haven't seen him go at Luka. I've seen him go at LeBron a bit. I've seen him go at Austin Reeves a lot. and Dalton connect. I haven't seen him go at Luka. Doesn't mean it happens, but I haven't
And
seen
then
it.
He does.
and then Jokic, his personality won't. That's just his personality.
We're not gonna sit here and act like we never seen Joker mad and frustrated in a basketball game before.
Yeah, but not at the coach.
For a reason, bro. For a reason.
I think you're assuming that these players just react to how the coach leads, and that's not always the case.
No,
there are some players that are not coachable.
I disagree.
You see, there are players that are not coachable. There are players that
because all the players that we could point to that have lashed out have also been incredibly coachable in their careers, and we've seen them get coached up before. We're gonna act like Josh Hart is an uncoachable player.
No.
Since when?
I don't. But I don't.
We're gonna act like KD is a non-coachable player. Since when?
But I don't.
Hold on. Actually, wait a second. KD might not be the most coachable player.
Ask Steve Kerr how much he likes coaching Kevin Durant.
That's Steve Kerr. He's the one.
My point. That's my point. That's my point.
That's
exactly my point, bro.
Nah, there have been good coaches that he's worked with that have. What? No,
but how are we? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, name the good coaches.
Scott Brooks was a great coach.
He respected Scott Brooks. He didn't have no problems with Scott Brooks.
He also had problems with Scott Brooks.
When?
I believe their last year. Didn't he get fired? Didn't Scott Brooks get fired?
No, he got fired at the end of the year because that man had 4 straight playoff runs and failed to get a championship. But KD has had nothing good things to say about Scott Brooks. Same thing with Russ. Every time Russ sees Scott Brooks, it's love.
No, it was Russ. Yeah, Scott Brooks and Russ are good. I always thought Scott Brooks and KD had a little bit of contentious relationship, mostly at the schemes. At the end of the schemes,
there's a lot of game manager coaches out here, bro.
I agree with that, but see,
what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Okay, go ahead.
In the NBA, because Paul, part of what you're saying is a little true. I just think you're laying it at the feet. Like, I think it's very hard to coach an NBA player.
Yeah,
right? I think that's what you're speaking. It's very hard, but what that means is that the standard of being a good coach is incredibly high. So, like, knowing basketball is not enough. Right? Like it's not enough to know basketball. It's not enough to be good strategically, right? There's a level of people management that is required in being an NBA coach, right? Like the best aspect of Phil Jackson, he didn't even come up with the triangle offense, right? Like he didn't invent it. That was Tex Winter. Right? So like the basketball IQ side of it, Phil Jackson, I don't want to say stole because it was a collaboration and like Tex taught it to him. But like he pulled his basketball ideology from somewhere else. What was unique to him was the Zen master persona. You know, meditating in practice, giving players personalized book suggestions every season based on where he thought they needed to develop mentally, what he thought they needed in his life. Like that's what made Phil Jackson. His ability to keep Kobe and Shaq productive for 5 years and 4 finals trips, 3 championships, right? Like that is the mastery of Phil Jackson. Coach Popovich, the mastery of pulling performance out of players that everyone else doubted and thought were not talented, managing the egos of David Robinson and Tim Duncan on the path to a championship. Like that's the greatness of Pop, right? Like homeboy in Boston now, what's his name?
Joe Mazzulla.
Joe Mazzulla, right? Like keeping, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been through 3 coaches now. And in each coach's tenure, the question of should they split up has come up. And Joe Mazzulla has held that together and kept that together.
I disagree with that, but go ahead.
No, you just disagree. You just think they should break up. But what I'm talking about,
that's how I disagree.
What I'm talking about is that the fact that narrative has swirled around them and the fact that they are comparably talented and like that could have turned into a toxic situation if either of them woke up one day and decided not to feel a way. And I don't think it's past beyond imagination that there have been days where one of them woke up and felt a type of way. And I think you got to give credit to Joe Mazzulla for the way they play together and the way they believe in each other. I think that's so when you're talking about the NBA, I think that part of it is a huge part of it. Now, there's some coaches that suck in terms of X and O's. They don't last very long, right? But I think there's a lot of coaches that get grace for X's and O's, but they eventually get fired when they lose control of the locker room. I think there's a rotating carousel of NBA coaches that fit the mold I'm talking about, where like they're really good X and O's wise, but like at a certain point, the locker room gets beyond them and they get fired. They take a year off and they come back. I think Bud is in that carousel. I think Taylor Jenkins is about to enter that carousel. I think Doc Rivers is in that carousel. He had a really good situation. It expired. It was time for him to move on. And I don't think he's captured the full respect of a locker room past 3 or 4 years since then. He's a great X and O's guy, but eventually with the Clippers, he lost the locker room. Eventually with the, who was he right before the 76ers?
Sixers.
No, right before the Sixers.
The Clippers.
It was just the Clippers and the 76ers?
Yeah.
Okay, he lost the locker room with the 76ers. He just was so entrenched that the players left, right? He lost Ben Simmons. He lost James Harden.
I agree. I agree with your overall premise, but I think we got to compare now to history, right? Like coaches back in the 2000s and earlier were not getting fired at this rate. And I think it's because culturally there was a greater respect for the coaching position. So, like, I think a lot of these game manager coaches today, back then, would have felt more empowered. You might not like this, but it's the truth. I believe it's the truth. They would have felt more empowered to take control of a locker room and really put their foot down because they were considered to be the guys that the players were supposed to listen to, as opposed to the guys that come in and try to just manage a situation without having real control.
Can I ask you a question to that point?
Go ahead.
Take out Greg Popovich, Doug Collins, Phil Jackson. Name me the best coaches from the 90s.
Jeff Van Gundy. I think Colangelo coached into the 90s for the Pistons, right?
Jerry Colangelo, okay.
Pat Riley.
90s? I guess the Knicks.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're kind of splitting a tenure between him and Jeff Van Gundy, basically.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so
no, but he still played he still coached into the 90s. It still counts.
But you're giving me the first half of the 90s and then the coach that took over for the last half of the night. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Because Van Gundy came underneath. Right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's still the tree, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like outside of these famous trees,
Jerry Sloan, George Karl,
terrible coach. Universally known as a terrible coach.
But the thing is, he coached for so long because the coaching position.
No, but here's what I'm saying. I'm so happy we landed there. That I think is the through line between what you're saying and what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I think there was more tolerance for what I'm talking about back in the day. A coach like George, but that's not a good thing. A coach like George Karl the carousel never ended until he was done. He's an X and O's guy that never had his locker room. And despite how much players complained and didn't respect him and how much non-winning he did outside of regular season, he kept getting jobs because he was an X's and O's guy. And he kept getting 50 win regular seasons. But in the playoffs, when it's high emotions and when you need to command a locker room and be unified in the vision, he can never get it done. And he just kept getting jobs. I think the George Karls of today are no longer getting grace. We don't care how many 50-win seasons you've done. It's clear that when emotions get high in the playoffs, you cannot lead this group. And so we're firing you. I think teams have actually realized that more this era. So I think it's not that the coaches felt more empowered. I think that those kind of coaches that were X's and O's but terrible leaders, teams lacked the recognition of the latter and would just keep giving guys jobs day in, day out, and guys would have these long careers and not win anything. But they have a bunch of 50-win seasons on their resume, and they're high on the leaderboard of career wins. But we don't talk about look about how high George Karl is on the career wins list as a coach.
Yeah.
And think about how many coaches we named before you even got to his name. And you only got to his name because I specified the 90s. If I opened it up to 90s and 80s, how many coaches would you have said before George Karl?
A lot.
And we still it's still a debate whether he's a good coach, because to a man, every good player that has been under him says he's a terrible coach.
That's a fact.
He was just notorious. And I was going to say that when you finish your list, like, now, how many of these names are you saying were good coaches or just names that you know?
Right.
Well, now I got two questions for both of you, right? Number one, do you all believe that good coaches get fired? And number two, is the coach killer reputation that some players get? Not all the players, but I'm saying, is there a such thing as a coach killer?
Yes.
I want to break down Coach Killer, though, because this
Why?
is again, I think we're adopting a lot of terms that by default have negative connotation, and I want us to examine whether we really think that's negative or not. Right? Like we look at Taylor Jenkins getting fired when he did, and while it's foul, objectively we don't know whether that was the right move or not. Right.
Well, that's kind of the problem, right?
I feel like we look at a coach getting fired, and most times than not, we think something negative has happened. Right? Like, people tried to spin Darvin Ham getting fired as negative. There was a community out there, and every Laker fan will tell you, thank God.
Yeah, but the thing is, with Jenkins, that's so like.
But why? What about his coaching resume with the Grizzlies makes you feel like firing him in a vacuum?
Before we get there,
is a bad thing.
Well, because
he's had some 50-win seasons, sure,
right?
But he flamed out in several first rounds.
True, with an incomplete and injured team.
Nah, you can't say that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can.
At least young.
Young and injured and problematic, and things happening off the court.
Who was injured during a playoff run?
JJJ has been injured a couple times during playoff runs.
Name it.
I believe in 2023 he was injured, if I'm not
mistaken. They were in the playoffs?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. There were some injury riddles.
And then 2022.
They had a streak of bad luck, to be honest with you.
They did.
And John's part of that bad luck. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I was going to say 2022 was probably their last big push. They had the whole team together. They were just young. They would have run it back, and then everything happens with Ja. So I don't know that he gets a fair shake to really demonstrate what he can really do with this squad.
I see that this is a lot of the bail that coaches get, and a lot of the bail that coaches got in the past, where we make excuses. But they're the ones getting paid, and they're the talent, bro.
But is that bail? It's a real situation. It's a real situation. Hold on, look at this. Hold on, look at this. Who am I more inclined to wait on to develop? My youthful player that I'm paying $200 million, or a coach in his 40s?
I get that,
but that's not really the
no, but it is. But it is because you're telling me about all these extenuating factors that this guy hasn't really been in a position to perform yet. But what I'm saying is, I think the measure of a good NBA coach, shit goes wrong during the NBA season. No team has a perfectly smooth year where nothing goes wrong, right? So it's not the actual measure of a good to great NBA coach is your ability to navigate through that. So you're naming all these situations and scenarios and circumstances that made it unfair for the coach. But that is what I have a coach for. If nothing was going to go wrong, I probably don't need a great coach. I just need a game manager, X's and O's, right? Because all you need to do is figure out the strategy, and we're going to be fine because nothing's going to go wrong. I actually need a great coach.
Like the Celtics last year?
Sure. But because KP got hurt and they had to figure that out, right? But the whole reason I need a good to great NBA coach is because I know things are going to go wrong. And so I need more than an X's and O's, guys. I need someone who's going to lead and navigate these players in this organization through turmoil, right? How many coaches would have got eaten alive by this Laker trade? You lose basically the identity of your team. You inherit a superstar who's heartbroken, and now you have championship expectations on you while managing, someone who they say is the best player ever, who's on the back nine. Hold on, who has on the back? No, because of course you could look at the opposite and say what a blessing he got, right? But let's be real about it. How difficult of a scenario is that to navigate?
I don't know. I really don't know because it's a.
How would you approach it?
Right? It's not a league.
How would you approach it? That's a lot going on in your locker room.
Approach what? The Luka situation, the trade?
Yeah.
I mean, what is there to listen?
Are you saying from JJ Redick?
Yeah.
You're saying from JJ Redick?
You guys, sometimes I feel like approach professional sports like it's 2K. Like there's not real like we only get to see on court where everyone's at work, right? Like the game is going on. We're all preoccupied with the job, right? Coaching an NBA team does not begin and end when the ball gets tipped and the final buzzer. Like they don't clock out when the game is over. Coaching involves dealing with everything in between. The only time you're not coaching is maybe when the players go home. But when you think about an NBA season, 82 games of the year, most of the time they're not home. Most of the time during that 8 months, they're spending with each other. And when they're together, you're at work.
So here's the thing,
when you're an NBA coach, right? You have to manage and navigate and deal with that entire span of time when we're on the road, when we're in the locker room, at practice, during film room, players getting treatment. On the plane, like you're a coach at Cabal, you're a coach at all that time. So maybe during the game, you're pretty good at X's and O's. But if this team falls apart every time we step off the floor, then what do I have you here for?
But is that what's happening? I'm looking at Taylor Jenkins. Is that what's happening with the team? Is that what's happening?
Listen, we'll never know, but I just think we have to start questioning our assumptions because of the fact that we don't know that, right? Like we're basing everything off of what we see on the court. And for a lot of these guys, then it's going to look unfair because we can objectively look at these guys and say, well, they look pretty good X's and O's wise. But I think if we expand our minds to what we don't know and what we can't see, I think it's relatively easy to, have a perception that leaves space for, we don't know what kind of coach this guy was in every other aspect of being a coach. And then we have enough former players that talk to begin to piece that puzzle together.
Right. See, I agree with that point. Now I'm asking you though. Do you believe in the concept of a coach killer?
So my whole point, I'm glad you brought that up. My whole point of bringing that back is even then, right? Like if you go off my premise that a lot of these coaches that were game managers but really not leaders were getting a lot of grace, and that is a reason for a lot of players not winning in the past, right? Does coach killer is coach killer then a bad thing? If I'm a player that refuses to let an organization be complacent, if I'm a player that says, we have talent on this team and you got this guy in this seat who cannot put it together. I get it. He's a smart guy. He comes up with good plays, but he can't lead this group. If I'm the kind of player in an organization that's going to kill an organization's complacency, not let them be lazy by just hiring some guy who's a basketball nerd and sticking him in a chair who has no idea how to lead men, grown men. Yeah. Right? Like we're acting like that's not a rare skill in this world.
No, that's a fact.
It's to be able to lead a group of grown men. It's
different than leading kids.
A grown, well-paid, well-known men. Not anybody can do that.
That's fair.
There's a reason people that get elevated to C-suites get elevated there. It don't. Sometimes your numbers don't matter. Sometimes your skills don't matter. How many people get mad like, oh, I'm technically more skilled than my boss, whatever. Yeah, but could you manage you? Look yourself in the mirror, real talk, and ask, could you manage you? Think about all you have and what you bring to the table in the workplace day to day. Could you deal with you and keep you productive and keep you in harmony with the peers that you have that you're competing with all the time and that you think you're better than this person and you're tired of Sally in accounting because of how slow she is, but you don't know that Sally is one of the most vital resources and that's why they put up with her, but you just get annoyed by how her lunch smells every day. Like,
yes.
We're talking about real human dynamics, right? Like there's a reason people get put in leadership positions. And then we see the opposite. Okay, they elevated Jack because Jack has the best numbers, but Jack's antisocial. And that's why your unit doesn't ever talk. And that's why no one even knows what's going on, because he has no leadership capability. Right? So if we apply that to these high stakes, high earning, right? These are companies. These are companies with high stakes, a lot of money invested, big personalities, big egos, big characters, and big figures. It takes a lot to lead that. So just because I come in, if I'm a guy that's gonna go to HR or I'm a guy that's gonna go to the CEO and say, yo, this middle manager is not getting the job done. I don't care that his spreadsheets are the best. I don't care that his, deliverables are always on time. We're not meeting our mark. We're not meeting our quota at the end of the fiscal year because he can't get everybody on the same page. I'm a bad employee because I'm a middle management killer when the company keeps hiring and elevating terrible middle management. Why does being a coach killer automatically a negative thing? If I go to an organization and they have mediocrity and my mere presence in the organization forces them to remove the mediocrity, why is that a bad thing?
It's not. And here's the thing. And I guess the best, from your point, in a vacuum, it makes sense. In the ether, it makes sense. My thing is, in the NBA specifically, which isn't like any other place of employment in the world, do you have examples of where being a coach killer in the positive sense, like you're saying, has actually yielded positive results?
David Blatt.
Okay. Tell me about it.
Game manager. They hired this guy who was an international quote-unquote phenom for his X's and O's. We all lay people, because again, like respectfully to you two gentlemen, when we talk about basketball in the NBA, we're lay people, right? We all acknowledge that, right? So lay people could look at him and say, "Oh, he's pretty good X's and O's. The offense looks like it made sense. The defensive coverage looks decent." But we could even realize from day one he was not prepared to deal with the magnanimity of that situation. Would we all agree?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And so LeBron, knowing he's in the prime of his career and knowing how fragile of a situation it is, I just came back and cleared out a roster. I just completely redetermined the path of this young player, Kyrie Irving, who has MVP potential, but now his whole trajectory just got swerved. And I have to readjust him to being in win now mode. I got Kevin Love, who's just coming from being the guy on a losing team with bad habits. I got to now, mold him into a third option.
Yeah.
Right. I just stole these two, narrative-wise knuckleheads from the Knicks. I got to now fold them into – I got to turn Iman Shumpert, who was a lottery pick, who was thinking he was going to turn into a number 1, number 2 guy. He's now got to turn into a 3-and-D guy. J.R. Smith, the biggest wild card in the NBA, I got to somehow turn him into a disciplined guy and a culture guy. I need an assistant in that has a strong personality to lead all these converging paths that we put together on this roster into a single streamlined mission. And this guy is not ready for that. So I killed him off. And what happened? He then got who is universally known as maybe the best or second best coach in the league, Ty Lue hired, and they won a championship the very next year.
Correct. So all that's true. The thing is, LeBron was not labeled a
Are we
coach
sure?
for that.
Yes, he
Are
was.
we
Yes,
sure?
absolutely was.
Are you
Was
kidding?
he? I don't recall him being called a coach killer. In fact, I remember people saying
was.
Uncoachable.
Absolutely was. Absolutely.
They called him uncoachable. I don't remember that at all.
Yes.
I don't remember that at all.
I still think this is this is the thing why, like, when you brought up the Lakers situation, Carl, like LeBron is the one that's doing a lot of that.
Usually it's for the better. It's usually for the better.
No, but therefore you asked us how would we handle it? Like, LeBron's handling a lot of it. So that's why I like this whole JJ Redick hype. I'm like,
no, but he's
doing
not.
a good job. But
if LeBron was handling a lot of it, then he wouldn't have killed as many coaches as he did. The amount of coaches he kills tells you how much he believes in needing help from the head coach to do what we're talking about. Because every time he feels like the head coach isn't good enough to do that, he makes sure they go.
Wait, but how many head coaches has he actually killed? Sure, Darvin Ham, fine. David Blatt, okay.
You got to go back to the Cavs, man.
I mean, how many?
He's had this narrative for a while.
How many coaches got fired from the Cavs?
he went through a carousel of coaches under Cubs, low key. Mike Brown.
Until he landed at Mike Brown, who is
Right.
universally known as a pretty good coach.
Byron Scott. What was he there with Byron Scott, or was that after?
No, that was after.
Byron Scott was after.
Because Byron Scott's first coaching job was with the Lakers, because we'd love to give people their first coaching job.
But yeah, listen, I think, okay, you said we don't know the situations, right?
We don't fully.
Coach killing, right? I agree with that. I just don't like, and this I'm like in recent weeks.
Let him land.
Sorry,
Let him land.
Sure. Okay, I had a thought, but keep going.
Let him land. Hold it. I got you. Let him land.
I'll make it quick. Like, I really think, to an extent, players and fans of players are actively trying to erase accountability from the players. And I've noticed, and I've been thinking about that recently.
That way, though.
Well,
because of everything that's been going on. It's not just one issue.
But no, but speak concretely, because that's what I'm trying to push us through. Like, I feel like it's such a default to go, the players don't want to be held accountable. They're uncoachable. Why are we not like why are we focused on the trajectory of the coachability of players versus then and now? And why are we not looking at with equal ire or analysis the coaching quality from then to now? Like, why is it not equally? If we're looking at an answer to why the current situation is what it is, why are we not asking the question that I started with how many good coaches are there actually left in the NBA? Not are these players on general more uncoachable than the past? If we let's answer the first question first. Can we say that there's a lot of good coaches getting fired? Let's examine that. Maybe there's not.
I don't fully agree with your premise of what a good coach is, but go ahead, Andre.
Well, so what I was going to say is, because to go back to the point I was initially making, I asked for examples of where it's been, this happened, like someone was a coach killer and it yielded a positive results. And the example was LeBron James, who is undisputedly top 3 ever. So if
he's also done the most losing from a GOAT ever.
That's fine.
Which is why he's why he's a good. That's what it does, because that's that you have to factor that in, right? Because what you're leaning towards is like, of course, good things come out of situations where LeBron is, but we can look at his career and a lot of losing happened as well.
A lot of losing has happened. Well, besides LeBron, actually, where I'm going with that, I'm actually going with that is besides LeBron, do we have any other examples of where this goes well?
Darren Williams was known as one of the biggest coach killers ever.
And what did he win? Nothing. That's what I'm saying.
He never got a good coach. He never got a good coach.
You see what you're saying, Pyro? You see what you're saying, Pyro?
He never got one.
I think got one. He had Jerry Sloan.
And they did a lot of winning. But look, here we go. You're gonna put Jerry Sloan. Okay, I don't want to get disrespectful, but what winning did Jerry Sloan ever do? Is he not another one of these guys?
This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
But Paul, answer my question. Why do we think we have to start? We're at the age, right? And this is beyond basketball, so people listen up. We're 90s babies. We're entering our 30s. I think it's a very important part of
in my 30s.
I'm talking to generally 90s babies, brother. It's not about you.
A lot of us are in our 30s. At least half.
Right? So there's half that aren't yet. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're at an age where we have to start re-examining and questioning a lot of the things that we just accepted from our childhood, even our own experiences. We have to relitigate some of our own experiences and see if we come back with the same conclusions, because we have a different mind and perspective now. We understand more, right? Something that may be a core memory for you that you hold in the negative or positive, you might, if you really thought back on it today, you might have a completely different feeling about that. Maybe that relationship ending was your fault, or maybe that opportunity didn't work out and it wasn't your fault and you've been blaming yourself for 10 to 15 years, right? So we have to do that externally as well with what we hold as fact and common knowledge, right? So in this particular example, what I'm saying is like these names that we grew up on, that we know, that were talked about and that were fed to us under this narrative of being good coaches, we're informed enough now to relitigate that. So when you bring up the name Jerry Sloan, that's why I asked you, why in your mind, if you sat today and really relitigated it, do you believe he's a good coach? because it's a name that got told to you a bunch, and because the Jazz were always a playoff team. Let's really let's really look at it, and let's look at the talent he had and what he was able to accomplish given the circumstances. I get it. Michael Jordan was there. I understand.
Right.
But like, let's really think about it. Like,
but
he had a bunch of 50-win seasons, and he made 2 finals trips. How great of a coach does that put him at?
Wait, great. Hold on. Actually, I'm glad that you, because that's actually exactly
what's the mission. What's the mission?
Hold on.
You can't accomplish the mission just by being a great coach.
I got 60 seconds here.
But what's the mission?
Go, Andre.
I got 60 seconds. All right. And that's actually where I want to leave off, because the point I was making with LeBron and the point I was making overall with the positive results are, I think, and this might be a question of semantics, but we're talking about what makes a good coach. We're talking about these great coaches that did great things and went on to make generational runs. Maybe we need to start making a difference.
Generational run.
Well, we're talking about Phil Jackson.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So they're maybe good coaches are or are not getting fired, but if the standard we're doing is what legendary coaches are doing, maybe we also need to look at it. Maybe it is good coaches getting fired. Maybe they're not legendary enough, and maybe these franchises are being a little unrealistic by looking at Phil Jackson. Oh, look what Phil Jackson did. This guy's not doing it, so we should get rid of him. That's crazy.
Hold on. That right there is my point about complacency. That's what I'm saying. In the 90s, maybe that's what was happening. Listen, we're not the Bulls. We don't have Michael Jordan on our roster. So I'm not about to fire a Jerry Sloan to go try to find a Phil Jackson, because why do that? Jerry Sloan's a good. Oh, listen. Maybe they're saying Jerry Sloan's a good enough coach. He gets us 50 wins a year and he goes to the playoffs. That's good enough. Let's be realistic. And then there's players in the locker room like, yo. So maybe in today's era, star players are saying, no, I'm not happy enough with 50-win season and a flame out in the second round just because that's good enough and the organization's being realistic. No, we want to go for it. Keep shooting for coaches until we find. It's the same way rosters get broken up a lot more than they used to. And I'm not talking about free agency. I'm talking about trades, right?
Yeah. I wish I could say it. I got a dip.
Players are moving themselves, and players are demanding trades be made, because no, we're not going to sit here with this good enough team, win 50 games a year, and flame out in the second round, and just hope that if we keep this thing together long enough, maybe we'll get over. No, I'd rather switch it up and go for it.
The grass is not always greener on the other side.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? In your career, say I'm a star player, I'm gonna be a Hall of Famer regardless, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So do I want to spend, let's say, from my prime to the end of my career, having a bunch of 50-win seasons that flame out in the second round? Not which one would I rather? Tell me the difference in how my career feels. If I'm already in my prime, I've made the All-Stars, I've scored the points, I'm pretty much already secured on being a Hall of Famer. It's only about winning now, right? Does my career look any different if I go 5 years from the prime of my career to the end of my career, 50-win seasons in playoffs, versus me being on 2 to 3 teams, trying some high-powered rosters, not really having great regular seasons, but making a decent playoff run and losing? What's the difference between those two careers? Other than the loyalty stamp.
But see, all right, here's the problem, right?
But can you answer my question first before you make your point?
Ask it again.
What is the difference in my career? If I'm a star player, I do my first 7 to 10 years. I establish myself as a great player. I get the All-Stars. I get the awards. I get the stats. I'm pretty much guaranteed I'm a Hall of Famer anyway. Now the only difference is, will I do any winning that makes me like a really all-time great, or will I just go down as one of those All-Stars that was really good but never got it done? If I'm that player already at year 10 and I'm looking at my next 5 years, what is the difference in my career if those 5 years look like staying on one team with one coach who's like in this, good, I guess, category you're going to put, winning 50 games a year, flaming out in the second round? What's the difference between that 5 years and 5 years of me being on 2 to 3 teams trying to put together high talented rosters and trying to find a coach to get it done, and we still flame out in the first or second round, or maybe miss the playoffs once. What is the difference in those 5 years? What does my career look any different given the 10 years I give you plus one of those 5 years versus other? Answer me what the difference is.
The difference is most of the time when you hopping around from team to team, your roles on those teams diminish.
But what's the difference in what's the difference in how my career looks?
So therefore, you look far less dominant as a player within those 5 years if you hop around from team to team than if you were to stay your team and win 50
How so?
games.
If my numbers look the same,
your numbers, the numbers never look the same.
Name a player.
They never look the same.
Name a player who I'm talking about who fits that mold, whose numbers look different. The Philadelphia is the first time his numbers have not looked the same.
Well, because he started doing it a little earlier in his career.
This is my point.
It wasn't
right?
years.
So Paul George is a great example. Take Philly out because let's call that the end of his career.
Okay, Kevin Love.
Hold on. No, don't switch it. When
go ahead.
When you sense that the example is about to prove a point, right? Let me at least prove the point, and then you can try to use a different.
Go ahead.
Paul George, right? If we take Philly and call that the end of his career because it's injuries, it's looking nasty, whatever. If we take his last 5 to 6 years, OKC MVP year, Clippers, some playoff runs and some playoff flameouts, right? If he stayed in Indiana for those last 6 years and probably had another year that looked like an MVP, probably had all-star years, probably still gets hurt a bunch, and Indiana probably still flames out in the first or second round, right? If he had that career versus the career he did have, will we look at him any differently?
If he stayed on Indiana and he completely
if we stayed in Indiana and his numbers probably stay the same, he probably still has 1 or 2 years where he looked like an MVP at his prime, and then after that he was at just all-star level, but the Pacers likely just flame out in the first or second round in the playoffs. If he did that versus what he did do in reality, do we look at Paul George any differently?
No.
Right. So if you're a player, but do we think that the path he did do gave him a greater chance at maybe winning a chip?
Yes.
So if I'm a player like Paul George, right, it makes more sense. If it's going to look the same anyway if I don't win, it makes more sense to go take the shot for the chance that for a better chance that maybe I might win. I'm going to get my numbers regardless. We'll go into playoffs. If I lose in the playoffs, I lose in the playoffs. It is what it is. Let me at least take the shot. So if we throw that to coaching, I feel like that's the same perspective with coaching, right? Like if we're going to lose anyway, it is what it is. We might as well try to get a better coach in here if we can. Maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe the coach is the same. Maybe the coach is a little worse. But staying complacent with this coach that is good but not good enough, I can live with at least we tried. At least we took a shot.
I understand what you're saying, but the fact of the matter is this: just because you make a change doesn't mean that it's always the right decision.
Of course, but it's about taking
the shot. Hold on. I believe in calculated shots. I don't believe in just shooting just to shoot and changing just to change, right?
Okay, sometimes let's get into that. Now that's a good metric to use. I like that. Whether we think the shot was just what's the word I'm thinking of? Errant, shooting at the wind, or they're taking a reckless, or they're taking a calculated shot that may not work out. And what I want to make sure we're not doing is we're not Monday night quarterbacking and looking at shots that were taken that didn't work out and saying they were reckless because they didn't work out. I think that's unfair, right? If we go back to the moment the decision was made, let's really think about whether it looked like there was some strategy. It looked like there was some calculation. It may not work out. It may not work out, but we can't look at it not working out and then go, oh, that was a bad decision. No, it's just they took a shot and it didn't go in.
You fire somebody without a replacement in the cut, right? And that coach would actually had some level of success, even if it's just regular season, had a level of success. I consider that reckless every time.
So let's go to Taylor Jenkins then, right? If they look and they're sitting in their boardroom and they honestly look and they say, okay, Our team is relatively healthy going in. We've been sliding for weeks. The Lakers have caught us. This is looking like.
Are they sliding?
Hold on. They were sliding, right? So I don't want to talk about today, right? Because the decision didn't get made today, right? The decision was probably made and was being talked about for weeks at the least, right? Can we agree on that, right? So if we're looking at the situation and we're looking at how we compete with the top teams, right? And we come to the conclusion this team is probably a first round flame out. Maybe if we get a favorable matchup in the first round, we'll go second round. But likely, let's look at the standings. We can talk real, right? If you look at the NBA standings right now,
they play the Lakers, I think.
Hold on. If you look at the NBA standings right now, bear with us. The Grizzlies are 5th, and we're looking at the Lakers, right? If we're the front office and we're being realistic, like you said, right? Do we think we're beating the Lakers?
No.
In the first round? Right. So if we're going to flame out in the first round anyway, based on the way this team is developed now.
Yeah. So now who are you hiring now? You see what I'm saying? Like, I think it's always reckless to just fire a coach. I think, okay, here's the thing, right? My problem with your take is that it leaves out the notion that sometimes people just make changes just to make a change.
No, I'm not leaving that. No. I completely acknowledge that possibility, right? What I'm pointing to is like I don't like when we relitigate a decision based solely on the results, right? So I don't want to look at and use examples of times that firing a coach and making a change didn't work and say that because it didn't work, we know for a fact that at the time it was a bad decision. Right. So what I'm and so with my warning on that, that's why I'm looking at this and I'm saying, yo, let's not jump to conclusions about whether this is a good move or not. And if it doesn't work, let's not then go back and be like, oh, that was dumb because it didn't work. We don't know because we just said the prognosis doesn't look good. Right. If we're going to make a change to coach, right, you're saying you don't like making changes to coaches without a replacement. Well, here's the thing, right? Coaching searches take time, right? So let's say they let him finish out the playoffs, right? That means we get to maybe end of April, maybe beginning of May, when they flame out in the first round. Now we only have the summer to look for a coach. Let's say we find one by September. That new coach now has a month to try to acclimate himself and get ready for this team. Versus we get rid of the guy now, start interviewing now, maybe we hire a guy by June. And now that guy has the whole summer.
No. Because this is why I disagree with that. Because you're basically throwing away your season right now, right? Now, hold on.
If we sat in the room and we said realistically it's over. Let me
finish.
Right?
Let me finish. Because these people sit in rooms. They don't play on the court, right? So if your job, you're thinking to yourself, what are you doing? Don't do this now.
I have a question.
Now, hold on.
Should the Dallas Mavericks, because I like that point. I don't want you to make it because you're really good at making a lot of points, but I want to make sure we engage with each one of them because they're good points. Okay. So that was a really good point. I want to engage with that.
Yeah.
To that point, to that perspective you're bringing, should the Dallas Mavericks throw this season away?
They should have traded Luka. I don't want to talk about that.
No, let's not do that. No, stay right now. Today, when the Dallas Mavericks sit in their boardroom and look at what's going on, should they throw their season away? Should they shut AD down?
Right now?
Yeah, right now. Should the Dallas Mavericks shut AD down and shut PJ Washington down?
You do, yes, but that's because you don't want to throw away your future.
Right, but,
right, which is different with the coach.
I know, but here's what I'm saying. It's the same proposition.
No, it's not.
Hold on, because let me land with it. Right. If we can look at the situation and know it's cooked, why are we not
the same? I'm sorry.
No, but
do it. These are older players. This is different. I'm talking about your next 2 to 3 years. If you milk AD for this year, right, and he gets injured again, you're now thinking, wait, maybe we traded for somebody that was on the verge of becoming damaged goods, and we made him damaged goods. And that's the guy that's supposed to.
And you're saying that there's not a similar threat of long-time harm by keeping a bad coach hired too long.
No, because you could fire him.
No,
You can fire him whenever.
Watch this, right?
Go ahead.
Your unwillingness to fire a coach who needs to be fired could lose you your star player.
True. But you can fire him whenever.
I know, but
you can't just get rid of a player.
No, but that's the game. No, but that's the game, right? That's what I'm saying. So in the same way that it's a gamble to play AD, but we don't know that, right? So that's what I'm saying.
We know.
No, look, because you're sitting in the locker room, right? In the same way that we don't like, what level of certainty do you have that if we just play AD out this right the end of the season and just see what happens, that he might get hurt again? It's a probability game, right? Like there's no science to say like how likely it is that if we play him, he might get hurt, but you know that there's a great enough of a potential that you don't want to risk it, right? Yeah. If we're sitting in that boardroom and we're talking to players, we're in the locker room, we're getting a feel of it. I don't know if there's a science that says it's less likely that if we don't get rid of this guy now, we don't lose a star.
You're
right.
You have a star locked in under a contract, and you have to pay.
You know that doesn't mean anything in today's NBA. Because Ja tomorrow, Ja could come out in the media and say, "I want to trade," and now it's cooked. Your whole organization is cooked, right? And we've seen that. Right, especially in today's era, right? If we know that a contract means nothing in today's NBA, that actually increases the likelihood that, like, if this is a bad situation, if you're a smart organization, you know that in the same way that playing a guy when there's nothing to play for realistically has the risk of being injured, I think it's a very similar gamble and proposition that if we keep this coach on when we know this situation is cooked, any day that he walks in that locker room, he could say something or do something that is the last straw for one of our stars, and they come out in the summer or the next day and say they want to trade. So let's get him the heck out of here right now.
That's bad. Because
the same way that you say let's shut AD down right now.
Not age plays a part in this, right? When you talk about probability, the probability of that happening is less likely than the probability of AD.
Only because we have a sort. We feel like we know the physical nature of the thing. We're like we know that guys that are old are a greater chance of getting injured. But I'm saying, think about again what we don't know and give it the same amount of credence, right? We don't know how potentially bad it is back there. So if it's bad back there in that locker room and in prayer, like if it's a bad situation, you not knowing that or saying like there's not that much of a risk, we can wait, yada yada. If it's bad back there as an organization, like just play a hypothetical with me. If it is really bad back there, would you agree then that it makes sense to just do it as soon as possible? If it's terrible back there, and every day you leave him there, you're playing the game of is he pissing off Ja today?
Yeah, honestly, I let it play out because look at the season. This is not a bad season. You let it play. At the end of the day, these guys are professionals, right? I get the emotions and the managing.
Everything you're saying could be applied to telling AD go play. Everything you're saying.
I'm saying shut him down though.
That's my point. But everything you're saying about why, like you're saying, we can deal with the coaching situation, all that.
For the rest of the year, for like
all that sentiment could be applied to an organization telling AD go play. You're a professional. We're still in the play-in runnings. We're not throwing a season away. I don't care how old you are. Go play. That's what we pay you to do. It's the same thing as
for the year.
What you're bringing up is how bad the situation is. That's what I'm saying is like could be equivalent, but we don't know. We can see Kyrie's out, so we can see. No, think about it. We can see.
These are bad comparisons.
No, it's not because you don't have anything to go off to disprove what I'm saying. That's my point.
If the goal is winning, Farrell, if the goal is winning, we can say without a shadow of a doubt that right now. Let's say 3 days ago when Taylor Jenkins was still the coach, the Grizzlies were in a better position to win it all than the Mavericks were. And if the goal is winning, like you wanted to put the goal of winning and how much have you really done as a coach, right? If you want to put it in that context, the goal, if winning is that important, then you don't throw it away right now.
But Paul,
wait and see at least for the end of the season.
So again, you could imply that to the Mavericks, right? Like, yes, Kyrie's gone, so it's front facing. Imagine. I want you to try to like equivalent the situations to both being in the space of if we didn't know. Imagine Kyrie had some devastating injury that we didn't see.
Okay.
And they didn't tell us. Let's say in practice, he broke his wrist, his right shooting wrist. And they went in the back room and Kyrie was like, I think I could do it. And they sat there. They didn't say a word to the public. And they put him out there and they put 80 out there and they said, we're going to try to salvage the season. And at the end of the season, they lose. And it comes out Kyrie has done permanent damage to his shooting hand. He may have to retire. And AD tears his knee in the playoffs. And then we find out that he got hurt in practice, broke his wrist. And they said they wanted to let it play out because the goal is winning. And they wanted to see what happened. We would look at them and be like, they're idiots. Right? But here's what I'm saying. I'm talking about things that make the situation bad that we don't know about, right? It's easy to look at it as a bad comparison because we can obviously see how bad the situation is in Dallas, right? What I'm saying is with Memphis, it could be an equally terrible situation.
No, it can't.
Why not?
They're winning more.
So
like,
what?
You got to understand.
So what? So
is the goal winning or not?
No, but here's okay. So then actually this question is regular season, right? Do you not believe that there could be a scenario where the relationship with Jenkins and one of the stars is over, terrible, but they're still winning? Wait, hold on. No, but listen. You know how relationships work. Let's be real. How many people do you when you're in a romantic relationship? And you've been in a romantic relationship for 3 years? Do you just break up off one fight? No, right?
But you
hold on. No, stay with me. Stay with me.
Another bad comparison.
No, it's not. Stay with me. You in a relationship. You have a bad fight. You really don't like that fight. But you like, damn, like we've been in this for 3-4 years. Like, I want to try to make it work. Something bad happens again. You are staying in it because, like you said, you have this idea that like we can work through this and it could be good. And then you get and then you get to a breaking point, right? You get to a point where you're like, it's over, right? Now, people who want to look at your relationship, they could be like, they can go back to the first fight and be like, you waited until it got to this point to break up.
Comparison.
Why?
Because there's literally deadlines in NBA. Like there's dates when things are happening, when the season is over.
That happens in life too. Hold on, that happens in life too. Wait, that happens in life too. You're acting like there's not good times and bad times to break up.
I'm not talking about good. I'm talking about
but I know, but listen, follow the analogy. You're acting. No, listen to it, bro. Listen, you're acting as if like a breakup. No, there's not a universal obvious deadline for when if you break up after this point, it's going to be terrible for your life. But we can look at life and say there are things that happen in your life. There are times in your life where breaking up now would be terrible and you would have been better served doing it earlier, right? Maybe you're up for a new job, right? And so you got to be.
We're not talking about hindsight.
No, but this is what but you are by saying you waited. You are by saying you waited till now. That's employing hindsight, right? So maybe you're going for a new job and it requires you to be super locked in. And maybe it would have made more sense if you broke up before you went for that job so that you could process and then be locked in the job. But you kept it going because you thought it might be a good thing. And you ended up breaking up the week when you were getting evaluated for your job. And now you're messed up and trying to get this job. It's the same thing, right? Like you can look at those things in the future and be like, if we break up now, we can save ourselves from it being a sticky situation down then when something really important is coming, but we believe in this and we think we're going to work through it. And then it doesn't work. And you end up being in that bad spot and you're like, damn, but you know what? We tried it. As the same thing as like saying that is going down a bad path mid-season. And we could say, we could get rid of him now and try to find a replacement. And maybe we get good by the playoffs. or we can stick it out because he's been our coach for 5-6 years. He's been to the playoffs. Let's just see if we can make it work. And then you try it and you get to a breaking point. And unfortunately, it's at a breaking point. Let me finish. And unfortunately, the breaking point happens at a bad time. That happens in life.
What defines a breaking point in that? Like, the goal is there. The goal is win. This is why your analogy is wild. The goal is winning, right? The goal is not simply happiness and being together forever.
But my point is though, but it's the same thing. Accomplishing the goal doesn't happen if the situation isn't right? So if they're messed up,
what's the difference of a breaking point?
Listen. If they're messed up back there, are they going to win a championship?
But what's your definition of a breaking point?
Answer my question. If they're messed up back there, are they going to win a championship?
How messed up are we talking about?
Bad. They don't talk. They don't talk. They're like, people have to go in between them every time there's a conversation. Like, it's bad. Let's just imagine that's what's going on because we don't know. Let's say it's terrible. Are they going to win a chip?
No, but I still see how far we could go.
So that's like staying in a relationship you know is bad. Just to see how far we can make it. Maybe we can make it to the altar. And then what happens?
Nah. That's different because when you get to the altar, the goal is to be together forever. If you just want to chip, if you just want to see how far you could go right now, how about this? Is
the goal? Right?
Wait! You gotta let me talk. You gotta let me talk. You gotta let me talk, man.
Go ahead.
How about this? What if? Because here's a reason that you could keep the situation going. You let it play out so that you see not just how good or bad Taylor Jenkins really is as a coach, but you see which players maybe need to go. What if it's Ja? What if it's Desmond Bain? They got rid of Dylan Brooks. What if it's JJJ? What if there's contention there, but what if the coach isn't wrong?
So then you're picking a side.
They picked a side because they got rid of Taylor Jenkins. The sides are being picked here. Let's not act like it's not.
No, but you're saying so again. You're saying let's see if we can see how good he is. But my thing is like if this is our star guy, right? If something happens where your relationship because that can't be like you have the right game plan and Ja disagree. Again, these are humans, right? Like humans get into disagreements, right? If y'all have a very bad problem back there, there's an issue for real. How well Taylor Jenkins' strategies are is not going to matter. So now your question is because something has happened and there's an issue between the coach, you want to pick. I didn't
say just Ja, by the way.
I know, but I'm just saying we're just using him, right? You want to pick because we're starting from the head of the snake. You want to pick the guy with good strategies over the talent.
I think no, but you're saying Ja because that's an easier argument to make, in my opinion.
No. You're right. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. But you know why I'm doing that? Because I'm saying let's imagine. Because I'm trying to say we don't know if it was a terrible situation back there. So I'm the example I'm using is the worst case scenario.
Right. But
I know, but Paul, you're right. Like the each player we go down, the more it's probably not a good decision. Right, yeah. Because the more it could be reasonable to just get rid of the player. I agree with that, but that's what I'm saying. We don't know, so we really have right. So what I'm saying is we really have no idea whether this was a good move or not because we don't know what informed it in the way that we would know if it was injury. No, but if it was Ja, how much?
Still bad timing. Do you think whatever? Wait. Let me ask you a question. You think whatever they got going on is enough to sully
what I'm saying is I'm not trying to guess. I'm not trying to guess. What I'm saying is because that's a possibility.
I think that should not be a possibility. That's why I asked that question. Whatever is going on
but that's real. But that's
real.
No.
But see, this is what I'm trying to say. This is why I said it's sometimes it feels like they're like people just take accountability off the players too much. Y'all are trying to win a chip. There are 10 games left. Whatever y'all got going on, Put it to the side because we're trying
That's
to win
not
the chip.
reality, though, bro.
That
You know
is
that's not
reality, though.
No, it's not, bro.
It could be, and if
No,
it's not, that's our job,
bro. No,
if it's not, that's our job. Let's go and try to win this shit, man.
But that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
That's not ridiculous.
So, you're removing
10 games in.
You're removing.
If I'm Ja, I'm thinking, wait, real
You're
quick.
treating humans like a robot, bro.
If I am Ja, and there are 10 games left, and I'm this good, and my team is this good, I'm saying, you know what? Whatever you got going, I'm gonna put it to the side right now to try and win this chip, and then I'm gonna go directly to the front office after we get eliminated.
Paul, is that not a two-way street? Why can't Taylor Jenkins do that?
I mean, like you said, we don't know.
No, right? but see how you're ready to give mad energy to put it on Ja. It's two humans.
I'm debating your point.
But this is my whole point. This is my whole point. We default to saying, even if you're giving my premise, they got a bad situation. In the scenario, the accountability you want to put on is only the player. It's the player's job to put the issue to the side and go win. Is it not the coach's job to do the same thing?
See, I agree. Okay, I agree with you, but
so wait,
but I'm debating your point.
But wait,
I'm not at the front office.
But hold on, let me just finish it. Because say it went like this. Say they got a problem. Say they sit the two of them down. Yo, there's 10 games left, bro. We are at a good team. We want to make a run. Y'all got to squash whatever this is. We've done a good job of keeping it out the media, but like it's affecting the locker room at this point. I don't know how y'all been able to win regular season games, but we know in the playoffs this is not going to fly. Mm-hmm. We want y'all two to squash it right now.
Yeah.
What if in that meeting, Ja goes, I got you. My fault. What if Taylor Jenkins F that? Do you not fire him on the spot?
No.
If it went the other way, if Taylor Jenkins said, okay, cool, and Ja said F that, what would you advocate for happening? You would advocate getting rid of Ja, right?
I'll let it. No, because people, like you said, they're not robots. People could say anything they want to say in a meeting when they're angry into it. But hold on, when it comes to the court, sometimes people are just like, I'm trying to win, and I'm letting it play out. There's honestly,
that's bad
there's nothing you could tell me to make me say that's 10 games people management. That this was not always bad timing.
That's bad people management, bro.
No,
I'm not saying it's not bad timing. I'm saying the bad timing of it doesn't automatically make it a bad decision.
It's a bad.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying
it is bad time. Of course,
Of
course it is. Of course it is.
Oh, I'm saying a bad time to make the decision, so therefore you don't make it.
And this is where we can end it because that's where I think I disagree. I think you can acknowledge in life, in any scenario, this is a bad time to do this, and that doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't do it.
No, therefore it's not a bad time.
No, it is. No, because
therefore,
No.
Therefore, it's not.
If you think about it, it's not. No, this is where we just disagree. I think this is just a fundamental life disagreement in us. I think sometimes you can acknowledge this is a terrible time to do this, and also acknowledge that I have to do this.
If that's the case, then it's not the worst time. So is it really bad? Less than ideal doesn't mean bad to me. If it's bad timing,
if that's what you believe. Then that's what I'm trying. So that what I'm trying to get you is to imagine. You're saying there's nothing you could tell me, but that's what I'm trying to say. There's no scenario you can exist where it would create a situation where this is what we have to do, even though it's non-ideal timing. There's no scenario you can think of.
Non-ideal and bad are not the same.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Is there no situation? I know. That's what I'm asking you. Is there no scenario you can think of that would make this go from no, this is bad timing, you don't do it, to this is really unfortunate timing, but we got to do this?
I think in life there are times when you do that. This situation is not that.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking you with a team.
With this situation,
but you don't know anything about the situation. That's what I'm.
I don't care. It's too late.
That's my point, Paul. You're so what you just said you would believe in life. You're unwilling to imagine that scenario happening with basketball.
No, don't do that. That's disingenuous. Don't do that. I'm saying with this situation, Pharaoh.
But you don't know anything about the situation.
I'm saying whatever is going on. You listen, man. There have been coaches
just standing there. You feel what you want to say.
Wait. There have been times, and like you said, we've heard enough from players to really talk about this and not just be talking.
And they lost,
chatting, right?
They lost.
Hold on. But there are times when players are trying to get at coaches' wives and all of that, and the coach gonna get fired right away, right? Now you saying they lost, but you don't know if you're gonna lose until you go out there and lose, especially when you're a good team. So I'm saying with a good team, unless it's a life and death, right now, you don't fire that coach. You let that coach play it out. I don't care what happened.
That sounds like a terrible place to work. Would you work in a scenario like that?
If I have a deadline for,
would you work?
This is what I'm trying to tell you.
Would you work? No, I'm treating it like what it is, which is this is a job at the end of the day. This is not to your language. To your language. This is not life or death. Us winning the championship is not life or death. At the end of the day, I'm coming to work. If I'm coming to work and there is a terrible, toxic situation here, and we go to management tries to fix it, and the people involved in it are not willing to fix it, and my management tells me
not willing to fix it. No, that's where you're wrong. Hold on.
Now, let me finish. Okay, sure, that's fine.
That's a big difference.
Let me finish. If my company, I'm gonna tell you, me personally, maybe you feel different, and again, we can just agree to disagree on this point because I think that's what it is. I don't think you're just unwilling to stand on it, but like I'm gonna keep putting it in different ways where like you just gotta stand where you stand.
You're making bad analogies.
No, because it's real life. Because it's real life, yo. So
just because it's life doesn't mean that it's a
NBA is not some esoteric shit that has different rules, bro. And maybe you feel that way.
It's a different type of job. Every job isn't the same. You have contract jobs. You have jobs that you sign.
A job is
every job is not the same. Every job is not the created.
Maybe again, that's the disagreement that I'm trying to have us just stand on, bro. Because I do. A job that's how I feel in life, bro. A job is a job. If my work, I don't care what we have going on. If it's not a life or death, sure, you're right. Some jobs are different. Life or death makes things different. If we work in something where we're in charge of people's lives, if I'm flying a plane, I don't have time to worry about whether I get along with the co-pilot. I got to land these people safely. So you're right? If you're a police officer, without getting too political, you're supposed to put interpersonal feelings aside because you have a gun on you.
Supposed to, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you're right. Some jobs are different when it comes to life, death, liberty, rights. You're right. If I'm a politician making policy, I should put my interpersonal feelings aside because I should be doing what's best for the people, right? Yes. Right. Outside of that, bro, a job is a job. And let me finish this. A job is so I don't care how much money, I don't care what interests are at stake. If I go to my company and we have a bad problem, like bad, we can't work together at all. Not some petty nonsense. Like there's been real disrespect. There's been a real breakdown and erosion of relationship. And there's complete inability to see eye to eye. They're saying things about me. They're defaming me in the public circle, not the public, but in the social circle. Like they're like, it's a back and forth. It's bad. If I go to my employer and they say, and without like revealing too much personal, like I just bore witness to this exact situation. So I'm not speaking from hypothetical. Like, is this really how I believe with someone that's close to me? And I said this to them in how they were going to approach the situation. Yeah. You're in that scenario. You and another person in this workspace got a bad thing going on. And they're talking through the company about you, disparaging you and how you dealt with them in a situation. And like that's not how you feel about it. There were other people in the room that were like, no, that's not how it went down, whatever. But it's bad. This person, y'all can't sit in the room, y'all can't talk. It's over. Mm-hmm. If you go to the company and say, yo, this is a bad scenario, y'all gotta do something about this. If that company were to come back to you and say, yo, we have this project that involves the two of you coming up, and there's like a big bag behind the project, like you just got to stick that out.
Did you always know about it?
Yes. You just got to stick that out and get through this project and we'll address it later. You leave, you quit that job. 100%. 100%. You quit that job.
Because
you quit that job.
You quit the job because you
100%.
You quit the job because you personally don't have the same affinity or you don't care as much about that project
No, because that's the thing.
That is why.
Wait. No, because I'm glad you said, because I asked them that. I said, "Yo, how important
Don't
is
get too
the
personal.
project?"
Don't yeah.
I'm saying, how important is the project to you, right? Like, do you believe in the project enough that like you just gonna view this as a distraction? There's a limit with that, right? I said if they don't handle it perfectly, but the project is so important to you that you can forgive that,
Yeah.
then yeah, you lock in.
Right.
Because they're at least trying, right?
Right.
If they were to actually come to you and you're expressing how you feel unsafe and how you feel disvalued, and they express, we don't care about none of that, we care about the project more, you gotta go.
Well,
You gotta go.
See.
You gotta go. Because if they're willing to straight put it to you like that, we value this project more than you and like how you feel coming to work.
Well, yeah, but I think that's a bad comparison. That's not because I don't think that there is a scenario where with what I'm saying, where you're
when I say
saying
safety, I don't mean physical safety, bro. Like safety in like the new modern term of it, like you feel okay at work. Because let's talk about what really could be your experience when you go to work and it's a bad situation. Let's talk about anxiety. Let's talk about stress. Let's talk about going to work and not eating because you're worried you're gonna have to talk to this person today. Let's talk about you're worried about your professional reputation because you don't know what this person's gonna say about you. Right? That's real. We're not gonna sit here and act like that's not real, bro.
No, real.
If you get up and literally dread going to work every day, and the company is saying because this deadline is coming up, we can't care about that. You got to figure it out. You got to get out of there. In my opinion, other people of different generations and different backgrounds feel like the work is the work. You got to deal with it. If you feel that way, that's you. All good. But I personally feel like, and this is why I do think it relates to NBA players, because it's not like if you're a skilled NBA player, it's not like you're not going to get a job. So for this person, I'm like, it's not like you need the job in an ether. You're skilled, you're educated, you're talented. You can go get another job. So if this place is going to do you like that, you don't need to be there. Now, if you're not in that situation, if you're a 10-day player, you got to look at it a little differently, bro. Look at your bills. You might got to put up with that, and that sucks, but that comes with you being in a bad spot where you need the job. But you're the star player. I don't need to be here. If my organization is telling me they don't care that I have this real problem coming to work,
here's the thing.
Because let me just finish it. If I'm a star player and my organization tells me they don't care about me having a real problem coming to work because it's the playoffs and they want to win, I'm asking for a trade. I can go be a star player somewhere else.
Here's the thing, though, right? And I get everything you said. I don't even disagree. But the problem is that you can't, if you're a job, you can't leave right now, right?
Don't matter though. The offense happened right now, right? So,
but you can't leave right now. So
why
if
not?
you're trying,
why not? Wait, why not?
Because you're under a contract.
No, but I can ask a trade right now. Today,
you're not. The trade deadline been passed.
Yeah, no, but okay. So what you're talking about is how quickly you can.
Let me talk for a second because this is why. Every situation that you try
sometimes
to bring
up, but the thing I'm saying is, I'm not saying that you're gonna walk out the door the next day, because your bills may not allow you, but from that day forward, you're making your plan to leave, and no one's gonna stop you.
That's ridiculous, because if they fire him in the off season, then your issue might be solved by
no, because the issue wasn't just that the situation was persisting. The issue is what you communicated to me about your values and how you value me. You can't fix that.
But that's
you
not
can't
what
fix
you
that.
said.
You can't fix that.
What you said was communicated in the situation with the person that you know is not the same in this situation. It's simply
we don't know. I'm just saying.
No, it's impossible.
Why?
It's not. Whatever you dealt with for 20 games, 40 games, 60 games, right? There's two ways this could go, right? Either this been eating you up inside for the whole year if you're a job, right? And
maybe
wait, and you
Yeah.
just now firing the coach, right? Who's been the issue of this? It's too late. If I'm Ja, I'm like, you just now firing this guy before the playoffs? I'm mad at you now. Still, number one. Or
I don't think that's true.
Yes,
think
you're
so.
not gonna be like,
No, wait, no. Actually, you're right.
Jenkins.
No, hold on. You're right. Hold on.
You're gonna be like,
Wait.
just
Oh,
now?
I'm about to agree with you. Watch this, because that actually, you don't even know how much that actually maps on exactly to the situation I'm saying. Because in the situation, the way it went, that's kind of what happened. Like they tried to play it safe and appease both, and allowed there to be like one or two more moments where it was bad, and then it went bad, and they finally said, okay, this is terrible timing because the project's really about to happen, but we cut the project. You no longer have to deal with this person. And so as the person, yes. And now,
so now how does the person feel about that?
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yeah.
There was a moment where they were like, they were mad that you didn't do it sooner, so we could have replaced the project with a different project.
Right.
But when they thought about it, I asked them that question: how much do you care about the work? Because if you are mad, if you don't care about the work, then be mad off the fact that they waited that long and be out. But if you care about the work, even though it happened late and you don't like the way they handled it, at least at the end of the day, they did do the right thing for you, and you can get back to
the work.
Yeah. So if your job,
the project.
Yeah, but here's what I'm saying. That project isn't the last project of your life. And this is what I'm saying about the playoff. Let me finish. Because I know. Let me finish, right? Okay. So that project was lost. And you could be mad about that maybe if they had dealt with the person sooner, that you could have found a quicker replacement for the project and been cool and not been in a tough spot. But at the end of the day, they did right by you by valuing your experience over that particular project, and y'all can move forward. So I said, if you care about this work and you want to continue to do projects here, then you can acknowledge they didn't handle it perfectly, but they at least did the right thing at the end of the day, and you move forward. If you don't care about the work, then be out just on the mere fact that they waited so long. So if you apply it to Ja, yes, them waiting this long, you tanked this year of our playoffs. But because I believe in the organization and I want to have more playoff shots with you, I'm going to look past the fact that you tanked a year by waiting so long to do this, because at least you valued me.
Nope, because here's the thing. I'm an NBA player. I'm trying to win chips. If you listen to other NBA players, if you listen to the OGs and all, which I don't know if Ja is doing that, if you listen to them, you don't take a situation for granted. You don't take an opportunity to win a chip for granted. We saw the Miami Heat. We saw the Miami Heat come through the play-in and get to the finals. And now you
too, bro.
It's not.
We don't know what that project could have did. That project that this person had could have got their name in the paper.
But you said there's another project coming.
Just like there's another playoffs year.
How do you know?
And I know what you're gonna say. What if the person gets injured? Okay, that happens in life too. What if you're
But every situation isn't created equal. All probability isn't equally.
And that's what I'm saying, Paul. And that's why you don't have to debate me, because we can just agree to disagree on this. You put the premises and the circumstances of NBA stuff in some kind of separate category where the stakes are of such a nature that different decisions got to get made.
That's not all the
time. I just disagree. I look at the NBA as another workplace.
Listen.
It is what it is.
I think that you try to force equivalency where there isn't. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. I just think right now,
what's the difference? What's the difference?
This is where we disagree. I think the situations you brought up are not equal to.
What's the difference? I'm asking you to clarify. What's the difference?
Okay, I'm going to say it again. There's a deadline, right? In the sense
that's not
of
different.
Wait. There's a deadline in the form of the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every year, you don't know what's going to happen or what you're going to get from your team, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So and you don't know what's going to happen with the other teams surrounding you, right?
Right.
Your career is short,
right?
Even LeBron, 22 years, that's still short in the red. People be working for 30 years, right?
Sure.
So your career is short. You have an opportunity to win a chip. You don't know when you're gonna get that, and the probability of you getting that again is so volatile that
Okay.
you don't take that risk, right?
So what? So
Wait, I'm
everything.
not done.
Okay.
I'm not done. In the situation, if they fire, if whatever is going on is so volatile, if I'm Ja, if whatever's going on is so volatile, right? And you fire them now, I'm looking at you funny because not only am I thinking you waited till now to do this. Number one, I'm thinking you waited till now and you just completely messed up the chemistry of the team before a potential opportunity to win a chip that's not guaranteed at any point else in my career, right? And in this situation, if I'm an NBA player, right, I care about winning. I'm supposed to care about winning the chip as much as my bosses.
Right.
I'm supposed to, right?
Right.
I'm either looking at it like that or I'm looking at it like whatever is going on, put that to the side and we deal with it after the season's over. Right? So either way, I'm looking at it like 72 games in, you don't fire a coach when this team has a shot to win a chip. Because although we feel like we might not win a chip, we are healthy enough, we are good enough, we have enough youth, enough defense, and superstars in myself to actually have a chance of it happening. That's the difference. And listen, man, this man said that his laptop died. He said he's gonna call in. Hold on. Well, yeah, man. Listen, this is my point. This is my point. I think that when it comes to this situation, right, it's hard. Let's be real here, right? Let me talk to y'all. This is me and y'all right now, right? Let me talk to y'all, man. Most people hate their jobs. Most people hate their jobs. Most people hate their jobs for numerous reasons, right? But when you hate your job, it's a lot of the times you don't care about the
Interpersonal issues.
Not the interpersonal. You don't care about
The work.
the objectives
Right.
that the company has as
Right.
much as them, as much as the bosses, right? So in that scenario, that's a big difference as well when it comes to NBA in real life, because the coach, you want to make money, right? If you're an NBA player, everybody wants to make money, but ultimately everybody, even sometimes the people that be working concessions, they want to win a chip.
Right.
That's the beauty of sport. That everybody is supposed to be united. So the interpersonal issues, sometimes you can't put it to the side.
But Paul,
but now is when you just now doing it.
No, but Paul, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Like,
not giving you, because I think what you're saying is right, that in a lot of employment scenarios, they wouldn't be equivalent because you don't care about the objective as much as the bosses. But that's why I brought up the example I did, because this is a person that does. That's why this was a difficult scenario for this person, because they love their job. They love their job. They love their organization. They love the work that they do. They're committed to it. But what you got to understand is sometimes when that's the scenario and the interpersonal goes bad, that's what actually makes it worse. Because now I'm nervous and anxious and scared in a place that I love going. Right? I care about my work. I believe in it. This person is threatening my reputation, and it's a reputation I actually care about. Right? This is a place that is a place of joy for me. I like to show up here. I like to do this work, and this person is making that bad. So I feel like you have an interpersonal issue with someone at a job you don't care about. You don't like going there anyway. So how much worse did they really make it when you don't even like you be ready to run out of there at 5 regardless? If someone's beefing with you there, you be like, all right, whatever. Like I don't even really, mess with this regardless. But when you love it, and there's someone there tainting it for you, and they're threatening the objective because y'all can't work together to get the objective done, that actually makes the experience of it worse, and then it makes the decision I'm talking about that difficult. So that's why I brought it up, because it is a scenario, right? Like, this person does want to win a chip as much as a Ja would in the equivalent, right? But there sometimes the scenario does get that bad, like you
Yeah,
acknowledged, where it's like, yo, like, as much as I want to do this, bro, like, am I gonna subject myself? What at a certain point you gotta have, something to stand on,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
what, like, how much am I willing to allow myself to go through for how much I love this job? And I personally think not enough people have that line for themselves, because
I agree.
no matter how much you love your work, again, if it's not one of the jobs we talked about, it's only so much that shit matters.
Right.
It's only so much, even if it's your favorite thing in the world, you knew you wanted to do it when you were a kid, this is everything to you. If you're willing to allow yourself to withgo like the depths of disrespect and mistreatment and abuse, like, I just don't think that's the way you should live.
I
That's
agree.
me personally, right? So I'm saying, like, in that scenario, it's because you care enough that you're gonna look past the fact that the decision was made late, right? Because at least in them making the decision, they've at least restored to you your place of joy. Now they've tanked a project, and maybe if they had made the decision earlier, something could have been figured out, and there's a loss there. But if they didn't do it, and they said because the
How big is
project
the
is so
loss?
manageable,
Is
but
not
but but but
already
that's
manageable
relative,
in the
right? But
NBA.
so
That's what
so
I'm trying
look
to
so look
say.
so look this look if there's manageable, to me, means the organization isn't gonna fold. That's what I'm saying. Manageable, like the
Still,
organization
still,
will persist, but
still.
thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars were lost,
No, no, no.
hundreds of thousands, and
Well, in the NBA,
notoriety,
we talk about
and
millionaires, so no.
notoriety. No, but here's
It,
an example I'm talking about: hundreds of thousands of dollars and notoriety for the organization were lost. But the organization isn't gonna fold. There's gonna be more projects.
not the same. Not the
I
same.
get it. You're saying every year of NBA playoff run, you're saying is so much more valuable than other scenarios because they're so finite and careers are short. And I
Yeah.
think I understand it completely, and I think I agree with it to an extent. But then this gets us into, and we don't have to go down this rabbit hole. This gets us into, right, and I don't want to use this player because I know it comes with baggage that you're gonna like flip out on. So I won't name the player, but there are players. Maybe I'll use Russ, right?
Right.
Like, there's the Russes of the world where they're like, yo, like, yes, a career is short and winning championships are the goal. But when my career is over, at the end of the day, whether I won a championship or not, I won in life.
He wanted the chip though.
I know, but here's the thing. I guarantee you, a personality like Russ, I guarantee you, like, even though my chances to win a chip are short and it would be great, that's a player I'm not taking no disrespect for a chip. I've won in life already. I changed my family's life forever. My
Guess what?
grandkids are set. I put on for my community. I'm doing philanthropy. I got a beautiful family. I'm
Guess
influential.
what?
All this. Would a chip be good? Yeah, a chip would be great. But am I willing to sell myself
Guess what?
for a chip? Hell no. And you
Guess
gotta
what?
respect that at the end of the day.
That sounds nice, but he would have left earlier. Then he would have did something about it earlier. It's too sweet. The playoffs are right around the corner. This is my
No,
point. There's no way you could spin it
but
to make this
so let me connect it.
siren
Let me
make
connect.
sense.
No, again, because I think you're disagreeing with a point that I'm not making. I'm not saying it's not, like, yeah, they fumbled by
Therefore, it's
waiting.
not
So
worth it to make the
listen,
decision.
no, but hold on. Let me finish it. They fumbled by waiting this long. But if in just doing it
No,
save them the player, it's ultimately
no.
the best situation. And that's what I'm going to say
I
about, and
don't
that's
think
what
it
I'm going to
saved them the
say.
player.
That's what I said about this person. Like, yeah, they fumbled how they did it. But if you were going to quit if they didn't do it at all, then
That's not a good.
ultimately,
That's not a good equivalency for this.
then ultimately, it was the right move for them, even if it kind of fucked up their plans.
For
Because they
them,
sat
yes.
down in their boardroom and they said, okay, project, which is this one-time thing, versus losing this person who might be our freaking CEO one day.
For them, yes. This is why you can't compare it to the situation. Like
But
I
if
said,
you would have lost Ja, because what if you even told him,
you're
yo,
not
like,
losing Ja. Come
but watch
on,
this.
let's stop this.
You could have.
If they could have lost Ja by keeping Taylor Jenkins for 10 more games in the playoffs, then they probably lost him anyway. Because
I don't think that's true. That's where me and
at
you
this
disagree.
point, no.
That's where me and you disagree.
At this point, no, I'm not hearing that. I'm sorry, no.
Wait,
And
why
I
do you
keep
think
saying
that?
this thing.
Wait,
I know it sounds like I'm just being
why do you
stubborn, but
think
I really
why do you
believe
think
it.
that? Why do you think that?
Because, like I said, if I am Ja, there's two logical ways this could go. And I could feel how I want to feel, but at a certain point, logic got to reign, man. Listen, number one, either I'm looking at you like you're firing this guy now, right before the playoffs, and messing up our chemistry. Yeah, I would have liked you to fire him earlier so that you could have given us a shot. Hold on. You asked me a question, right? So that we could have given us a shot with a new coach to at least build something halfway through the year and get some chemistry and implement some new ideas so that we're ready in the playoffs. But now is when you do it, you might as well
that's your evaluation of them. What if Ja feels like, what if he's got a really good vibe with one of the assistant coaches, and what if he don't feel like the year is lost? What if he feels like now that this guy is finally out of here, the whole team feels better, and we're gonna go do it now? Who's to say he doesn't feel like that?
I think that's more. You could be right. I think that's unlikely. That's highly unlikely.
I don't think that's that unlikely.
That's highly
if you
unlikely.
got the talent,
he's
right?
an assistant.
But I'm saying, remember how you started this whole pod about like how players think today and how they value coaching. What I think it's a very real person, and even if he's wrong, here's the thing: I'm not saying he's right. Even if he's wrong in that, you letting him feel like that, you could be in the ballroom and be like, yeah, if we fire him, the year's done. But Ja's not gonna feel that way. Ja's gonna be like, thank God the black powder's gone, and Ja's gonna be motivated to prove that he could get it done with this squad without that guy. And we're gonna lose. But going into the summer, Ja's gonna love that we trusted him.
No, I'm not doing it.
Ja's gonna love that we trusted him and that we valued him, and we can go get another coach.
Because if I fire him in the offseason, I still trust him.
But we might lose Ja.
Ja's gonna be like, yeah,
he's gonna be tight. If he's begging us,
and you just now doing it? No, too late. What no, that makes no sense. We can end it here, man. I'm telling you, there's no.
I guess, bro.
No, and I look at the thing again with your friend's situation. I agree with everything you said with that. I just think it's a bad comparison.
But it went the exact same. It was literally the exact same way.
It's not the exact same because the careers are so different that it's not ever going to be the exact same. Ever.
I guess, bro. I just think you're assuming what people's reactions are going to be to certain situations. Like you're assuming that Ja's going to be so mad about the timing and not factoring in how happy he might be just to not have that bad situation on his hands.
But at the same time, I did say at a certain point, logic got to ring, right? So
yeah, but
emotionally he could feel away. But when it comes to the playoffs, it's like we're trying to win. You understand what I'm saying? Like we got to do what needs to be
I have a question. If the situation is that bad, I don't think Ja thinks. That's what I'm saying. The calculation. If the situation is that bad, you're doing in your mind like, oh, 10 games before, now we have no shot of winning. If Ja is that pissed off, again, we're just using Ja to use the worst case scenario, right? If the situation is that bad, do you think Ja looks at it as like, oh, there's 10 games left, we can figure it out?
No, because
that's what I'm saying. So there's no loss there that he's feeling.
No. I'm saying even if I want a coach fired and you fire them right before here's the thing. This is the last thing I'm going to say, right?
You're saying wait, let me just I want to make sure I understand it. You're saying that if the situation is that bad, one, you're assuming it's been bad for a long time. and that if it's been bad for a long time, they already lost Ja, and so firing the coach now just doesn't make any sense.
That's one of the points I'm making. Yeah.
But remember what I said. Remember what I said about breaking point. What if he hasn't been playing this way for a long time? What if the situation developed rapidly? What if up until February
So you
things
making
were
rapid
good?
decisions
No, but I'm
with your
saying what?
coaching?
But sometimes, but no, it's the same thing. It's the same thing in the example I get. It wasn't bad for months. It literally went bad in a weekend, in
You
a
know,
in a
I'm okay. I'm
singular
sorry. I'm gonna
weekend.
need more information. I don't. You're not supposed to give that, so I'm not even gonna
No,
go
it's
there.
okay.
I'm
Look,
not.
I
I'm
can.
done talking about the
I'm very
situation.
good. I'm a lawyer. I'm very good at talking around. In a singular weekend, a communication was sent about an interaction that happened on the Friday preceding, and that communication was circulated through the organization and through the field. And the nature of what was said in the communication, relationship shot. So now you're coming in on Monday.
So is
Go
this like a?
in HR's office. What do we do? That's
Is
how
this
quick. That's how quick it was. A
is
singular communication. It's like, are you kidding?
so you're there were like company violations made in the communication over the
100%.
weekend.
100%.
That's different. That's still different. That's still different.
But this is what I'm saying, right? So you're thinking it was this long, drawn out thing. What if literally 2 weekends ago, something happened between the two of them that was of a level that it was like on Monday they came in and they're like, "Yo, this is cooked. Like this is."
Man, figure
I'm
it
not.
out.
I'm so happy the
That
bosses didn't
quick?
say it to my friend. I'm so happy the bosses didn't say it to my friend.
Of course, but like I said, bad comparison. Company violations. Company when it comes to company violations, your
Ime
long
Udoka.
term.
Ime Udoka.
See, they didn't fire that woman didn't get in trouble, so I'm not even gonna go. I'm not gonna
But
go
but
there.
but yo, but that's a clear. You did something so foul. There's no figure it out. You're gone. It's over. You're gone. Right? And again, we can only side on that side of
I
analysis
think that's still a
because we
bad
know what
comparison.
happened. We don't know what happened here. That it's a joke, but the first thing that the comment said when this happened is, "Oh, some allegations are about to drop."
See, with the
Right?
email
Like
Udoka thing.
something must have happened
Wait.
that was so crazy that it was an immediate cook. Like, no, this is
Listen,
done.
listen. I gotta go. The email Udoka thing. The Celtics revealed the information. They could have. They didn't even try to work it out.
Because
That's
they know they would have looked crazy. That's what I'm
not.
saying.
Is that true?
Exactly. You would have had the same take about them
No, is that true?
had they not leaked why they did it.
Is that true that it would have looked
Yes.
crazy?
They were just coming off a finals trip. If they didn't put out any reason and they just said that they fired him,
No, I'm saying they didn't even try to work it out. They just fired him.
there's nothing to work out in that scenario. Absolutely nothing. You can't work that out. If you believe that you can work that out in the workplace, you're different, bro. You
Listen.
can't work that out.
Listen. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole.
You,
They
there's no
revealed the
working
information.
that out,
Listen.
bro.
Listen.
There's no.
From what was said after this happened, this is not the first time something like this has happened in the NBA. This is the first time that the company leaked it.
And those men who worked through that are different and built better than me, maybe. But there's no, for me, I don't care how many chips. There's no working that out.
Did that man leave his wife?
There's no, we can work out our relationship.
No, did that man leave his wife?
I'm not working. That's different though. I'm not working out this work situation. You have to go, buddy.
I want to know. No, I agree with you, but like,
we can figure out at home different, but you have to go. You don't get to stay here.
She got to go too. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway. Hey, listen. In my mind, I also agree. Maybe he was only built for it to a certain level. He was on his firing squad, and he was like, "You gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go." And then when he got there, he was like, we can win some championships together. Let's figure it out."
All right. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole.
Yo, this was good. No, but yo, let me just give you your flowers. This was good chat, brother. This was good.
Likewise.
And I like this because even though I started this pod saying this is basketball and I don't want to be TMZ, this was a part of the NBA that like needs to get talked about more. When we talk about how you cover the sport, we got to start analyzing basketball players as humans, and I think that points to what our initial inquiry was coaching. And I'm just gonna finish or come back to my point that like being good at X's and O's, I think, doesn't make you a good NBA coach. And I think we got to really look around and look at these coaches, and we got to ask more than just do they have good plays when we're evaluating them, because leadership of men is a tall task.
Yes, absolutely. That I agree.
All right, we can end on an agreement. Lovely, beautiful.
Hey, you've been on a run, man. The last few podcast episodes, you've been getting into it, man.
No, but it's good. It's not just debate, though. We're having good conversation.
Yeah. That's a fact.
And we usually end up finding a lot of common ground to agree on. So I think this is good content for the people. This is how you have a tough conversation with your brothers. Black men, talk to each other more. You heard? Learn a little something about life. Learn each other's philosophies, man. Connect, build community. Link and build.
That's a fact.
All right, brother. Love you. Have a good one.
Likewise. Hey, man. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Follow.
Yeah.
We might be streaming on 2K on Twitch.
Yeah, 2:30 tap in.
Listen, you said what?
2:30 tap in.
Say less. Listen, the program team is active. So
hold on, watch out, clear out. Hold on.
Turn on the camera.
Hey yo, all you 2K players out there, be clear, yo. We with all the smoke. Now, we are busy men with busy schedules. Unlike some of y'all out there, we don't get paid to play video games. And that's not hate. We just saying that to show that we really love this. But we got other responsibilities. But when we get our scheduling down and we get our 5, we with whatever you want to do. And I'm going to tell y'all now, so it's open and conspicuous, you will be getting streamed on our channel. You don't get to hide. You challenge Fast Breaks, the squad, you are going on Fast Breaks, the pod. You heard? And we're not going to put it on Patreon and make people pay $20 for it. You will get this content for free. So tune in 2:30. You may or may not see us put some belt to ass.
Listen, man. Subscribe. Click the link in our bio for the Twitch, for the YouTube link if you're watching on IG, or the IG link if you're watching on YouTube. We out of here, man. Every Saturday we live.
We will be making our announcements about when we're streaming on our Instagram stories. Say that again.
Light it up!
If you're looking for intellectual, informed basketball takes, and you want to bring in media that knows what they're talking about, look no further than
never early, never late, but we always push the pace, yeah. And we really study tape, y'all just view the highlights, man, we really watching games, yeah. You just watch from the stands, we run 3-man weeks, Paul, Trey, and Allen, yeah. Way more than a fan, we got love for the game, we don't have to pretend. Got it out the mud like you get it off the glass. I'm the run the fast break, throw me the outlet. Yeah, we got it out the mud like you get it off the glass. Time to run the fast break, throw me the outlet.